If you want to join in after the episode, come join Telegram. Talk, meet, be part of a small community that discusses what we're talking about. It's fun, right, Neal?
It sure is. It's a growing community, and we get to talk about crypto, and there's no shilling.
So join Telegram. Let shill.
This is the Analysis in Chains with Nathan Williams and Neal Kieran.
Welcome to Analysis in Chains. Neal is back from the brink of death. Neal, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Before I explain where I've been, first of all, I want to say that introduction, I think, was probably the most unscripted introduction ever in the history of podcasts. So,
and we
I think
pledged not to shill while shilling the Telegram group. Although, to be fair, it's not like we charge for it. So there we go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's great to be back on air, Nathan. Yeah, it's been a rough few weeks.
Well, you just had the cold. You cold. You couldn't
I
record.
wish it was the cold. The whole family got the flu. Yeah, it was a very rough period. Back to life. I can't say looking at crypto prices helped. It kind of made me more depressed and made me feel more sick. But I guess I guess that's crypto for you. But no, back to full health, thankfully, and yeah, happy to be back on the show.
Let it be a lesson, Neal. Always get your flu shot. That's the flu is not something you want to mess around with.
Yeah. No, I was playing with fire. I think in the last few years I was like, look, the flu shot success rate's low. Why bother? And then it came back to bite me in the back. Bite me in the backside, I should say. And this year, I think the flu shot success rate was 74%. So yeah, I totally lost out. But then it was a heavy lesson.
Yeah. It's like insurance. You don't need it until you need it. So.
Yeah.
But we're glad that you're back in the saddle, Neal, and take care of yourself. We need you.
Yeah. But what I did get to do while I was sick is actually do some digging on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and look at the all of the stats related to various blockchains, and have to admit, short term, medium term things don't look too exciting, Nathan. I know that Bitcoin had a big jump lately, but I don't think it means we're back yet.
Well, it's good to have you as the analysis because, right, we were just the in chains without you. So, but why do you feel that that the Bitcoin jump is not indicative of hope in the market right now?
Well, we've had these jumps a few times, and every time it happens, it seems to be just down to maybe short sellers just liquidating their position. So we have this like short-term jump, but then we still see a trend downwards. And the other thing is that whenever this jump happens, I know there's some excitement, but when I look at, say, activities with addresses, be it sent or addresses that are active, they're still trending downwards. And on the flip side, with Bitcoin, its hash rates continue to increase. So, which is kind of bizarre because the cost for mining I believe is more than how much you make per coin. So it's kind of strange why hash rates are increasing for Bitcoin. But if we look at Ethereum hash rate is actually still going downwards. So I feel that Ethereum price is acting more how the blockchain activity is, which is there's less activity, there's less sent, less addresses, and hash rates going down. But with Bitcoin, you have activities dropping, but hash rates increasing, but also transactions are increasing. And people have been reporting lately, oh, look, transactions are increasing. That means Bitcoin's become more popular. But actually, there's a company called Veriblock that's been testing a new concept called proof of proof on the blockchain, on the Bitcoin blockchain. A bit like how you'd have all these transactions.
Proof of
I know.
proof.
So I know, I know. So, like how you would,
I'm sorry, I just
I
derailed
know.
that. Sorry, go on.
So, so with Ethereum, where you have like NFT, non-fungible tokens, and it's like if you wanted to prove anything or have a certificate or something, you could use Ethereum, and if you were to do that, it counts as a transaction, even though it may say Ethereum didn't exchange hands. So something similar is happening now on Bitcoin, and this company Veriblock now accounts for 20% of all transactions on Bitcoin blockchain. So people have to be wary that just because transactions are increasing and hash rates increasing doesn't mean Bitcoin is recovering. And I read some articles about people fearful that Bitcoin could still drop to $1,500. So just be cautious out there. I don't think we're out of the woods yet.
Yeah, and I mean this is why these stats can be misleading. That I mean there is an advantage that if you've got a giant company doing proof of proof, they're going to be paying transactional costs, but that's not the same. It's not exactly like you're getting adoption or you're getting people using Bitcoin in their day to day lives, which is more what people are hoping on. It does have. It's not to completely discount increased transactions. Those are always good for the chain or for the miners. But yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. So these days, I'm looking more at the Ethereum blockchain more to help me understand the market as opposed to Bitcoin, because I think the Ethereum data is a lot more reflective in terms of crypto enthusiasm and the community and stuff like that.
I see. So, did you hear about the other big news this week, Neal?
Well, I wouldn't say it's this week. This has been going on a while, but it really has exploded uh, on the internet, I would say, in the last week, and it's
Well,
everywhere.
I guess it's just the opportunity that we've had to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Everything's this week now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been like what, 3 weeks? 3 weeks. Happy New Year, Neal. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
this week.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're totally right. You're totally right. It's like because we did know there were issues with Quadriga uh in recent months, and some users have had problems accessing accounts, but it's really all come to the fore in the last week. The story is a bit crazy, and and just for people who've been living under a rock or living in a cave recently, what's actually happened is that with Quadriga, which is an exchange in Canada, I believe it's based in Vancouver, they you haven't been able to access your funds. So it has turned out that the CEO died, and he had all the keys for all of the accounts, and so that in itself sounds crazy, but what kind of is also a bit crazy is that this happened 12 days before he died, and he died while I think doing some charity services in India. And so well, what's alarming about this is like, wow, like why would any exchange have some sort of system where only the CEO has the keys? Because then you have one single point of failure, that if he dies, which did happen, the whole system falls apart. No one can get any money. I know, like it's going through creditors at the moment, and bankruptcy laws or whatever, but nothing can be done. All this money has
Yep.
completely disappeared, and it also highlights the issue. You shouldn't leave your crypto on any exchange, and it's something that everyone's been saying. Like maybe if you're a trader, you could have some there, but if you're a hodler, you have no business leaving any of your crypto on an exchange, and it kind of defeats the purpose of crypto if you were to leave your crypto on an exchange. So it really does highlight the problems with exchanges in general, because we've had all these hacks and all of these security failures. Now we have this
Mm.
more systemic failure of an exchange, and it goes to show that yeah, crypto has a long way to go to becoming a lot more trustful ecosystem, than we really thought.
Even though it's not exactly news this week, it does bring to mind these best practices. Um, and we've said it so many times on this show: don't keep your money on an exchange, and this is why. Uh, but what I find more interesting is sort of the best practices for companies, right? Because as we're going forward, the industry is going to mature, and we all expect that this year will be a year where we see more security tokens and more stable coins. And those are going to have the exact same issues that utility coins did in terms of custody, right? So if you're holding your own coins, they're a little bit like cash. That's sort of the appeal of using crypto, is that I've got full control of my coins. It's not, I don't have to trust a bank, I don't have to trust anybody. But if you're in a company, the question is, who should have control over it? If it's just the boss, can they abscond with it? Who can stop them from absconding with it? We during the ICO boom of 2017, I would hear stories of people with millions of dollars of Bitcoin and Ether just sitting in a hardware wallet or a USB case on their desk. Anyone could just stop by, grab it, leave. Security wasn't the highest concern at this point, and that's where people got into cold wallets. That's where the hardware wallets became quite popular. But I mean, some people, they would just have it scribbled in a paper wallet, sitting in their filing cabinet. And with publicly traded companies, this is going to be an issue for adoption, that there needs to be custodial services. And one of the ways that a company can handle this internally would be to have a multi-sig wallet. So what that means is, if you've got, say, a few $100,000 or a few $1 million worth of cryptocurrency in whatever form, that stored in your company and owned by the company, there should be minimum 5 keys, and in a wallet where 3 of those 5 keys would need to be used in order to transfer the money. And if one key is lost, they should immediately transfer it to a new wallet that has 5 new keys. By doing something like this, you protect against this type of issue. I mean, the other way of doing it is to just trust a third-party custodial service like a bank. But then the bank has to implement something like that, right? Where to have sort of redundancy services against one person dying or absconding with the crypto of everybody.
Yeah, it's like, we're really getting to like one of the core problems that hold back implementation. And I know that there are a lot of guys looking at different solutions like a decentralized exchange and stuff like this, and you have in your multi-sig wallets. But then, if you have a bank help manage your crypto, kind of, for a lot of people, defeats the purpose of crypto. It's all about being independent and not having to trust anyone. But in the world of, say, yeah, I guess in the world where you always have to have private keys, uh, I think there'll always be that risk. And I think, well, I ask myself, like, will people be comfortable with this idea of, if I lose my private keys, I lose my funds? I'm sure there will be services developed out there that could be like, hey, all you need to do is have your PIN number or some secret passwords, and these secret passwords have access to your private key, and therefore you can never lose your private key. But the thing is, then someone just has to guess your passwords, and as we've seen, passwords isn't the most secure things that are out there. But I think that this may be the halfway point, for many people in order to adopt crypto. So, but the thing is, then crypto will never be totally secure unless you actually have 100% ownership of your keys. So I think will always be an issue, but then it's kind of the same with a bank, and financial services that exist today. Since the financial crisis, yeah, people still use banks, but do they completely trust them? No, 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 not completely.
Yeah, but I mean, Neil, when we're talking about corporate adoption of blockchain, one thing that we got to make sure that we don't fall into is trying to fit corporate need into what blockchain can do. Instead, it's important to take a step back and to say, okay, what problem do they have? Let's solve that problem. And when when you've got corporate adoption of blockchain, there's a reason for it. The reason shouldn't be that it's blockchain or it's crypto. There's a lot of hype around it, and we want to participate. As fun as that was to have Arizona Iced Tea renamed Arizona Blockchain and gain 30% of their stock value overnight. But more realistically, it's going to be more questions of, okay, what needs to be secure? How many people need to control this? Do corporations have trouble trusting central banks? If that's the question, then then how do you address that? And should it be done with Bitcoin? If they don't have a problem trusting banks or central banks, is it more of an efficiency problem? In which case, is a bank-backed cryptocurrency stablecoin more useful for, or like, these are the questions that have to be answered. Like, what's the use case? Who is the corporate? What do they want to use it for? And being able to answer those questions will probably yield more useful results than saying, okay, well, in a general case, does it make sense to have a multi-sig wallet or for a corporate Bitcoin account or something?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's like I feel that people have to ask themselves, like, well, what is it about crypto? Is it that you want to be part of an ecosystem that's 100% trustworthy, that only uses, say, technologies, and there's no people in the system that you need to trust? That system is going to be extremely difficult to implement. And then the other side of it, is it that you believe in digital assets more? And if you believe in digital assets more, that means you can allow to have these corporate entities that you talked about a part of the system. Yes, there'll be some manual processes, whatever, involved, but then I believe that if crypto is to grow, I think it needs to have this hybrid of manual systems integrated with decentralized systems, as opposed to this pure 100% decentralized world of finance, which I think is going to be very, very hard to implement, because there's going to be so many sort of issues for adoption.
Which is why Ripple is the future. Oh man. But you're absolutely right, Neal. I mean, the thing is, for any blockchain project, you got to sit down and go, okay, what are our needs and which solution fits it best? And I think that because even Bitcoin is so complicated, that most people don't understand it at first glance, when you get into more complicated chains or more complicated solutions, people's eyes glaze over a little bit. But it really should be based around problems and solutions. And and if you're building a project that's meant to address the needs of the corporate, it's not just about, okay, well, we've got something to handle corporate finance, or something to handle supply chain logistics, or something to handle the administration of a giant multi-party contract using smart contracts. It's also about figuring out which parts are most important to be centralized, what value needs to be transferred, what value needs to be held, who needs to have access to that value or to those crypto assets, and then just taking appropriate actions around the specific use case.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. That's how I see things evolving in the future.
While we were talking, I was looking up what the heck proof of proof was, because I didn't look it up before this. And turns out, what did you say the company was? A Veryblock, right?
Yeah,
Veryblock.
Veryblock. Yeah.
Veryblock. The proof of proof essentially is just registering, I guess, it looks like it's registering hashes of other altcoins on the Bitcoin blockchain, so that you can always verify that these altcoins are their chain hasn't changed.
Is that really necessary?
Maybe if you don't, maybe it depends on, I don't know what chains they're securing, but essentially, I guess they think it is. But let me just think out loud here, Neal. Maybe, because I've often said that if you want to start a new proof of work chain, right, then you're going to be at a disadvantage, because if you start with like 5 of your friends doing a brand new type of proof of work, then you're not where Bitcoin was at 10 years ago. You've got maybe 5 computers, 50 computers, and as soon as you start gaining a little traction, people can roll over their ASIC miners and say, well, we're just going to, do a 51% attack against your chain, because there are ASICs out there, whereas they didn't exist back when Bitcoin started. Bitcoin started in an environment where people weren't equipped to do a 51% attack, and it grew organically. So maybe this makes sense, that as a way of growing and experimenting with new layer 1 protocols to protect them against these type of attacks.
Potentially, but I'm skeptical more because I guess I like the idea that each blockchain is unique, has various characteristics, and linking it to another blockchain, I guess it's good for Bitcoin because it increases the demand on Bitcoin of it being the gold standard and the mega blockchain. But if yeah, no, I like the idea that Cardano and Ethereum and all these other blockchains are their own entities. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see how this
We'll
evolves.
see. We'll see. I mean, this is just from my cursory looking at what they were trying to do. Maybe I'll take a deeper look into it in a future episode. We can talk more about if it makes sense or not. But just from a purely theoretical point, the idea of securing other blockchains with Bitcoin, I get that. I mean, we're not going to displace Bitcoin anytime soon, and maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess if it saves energy, it's only a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Neal. Let's wrap this up. You take care of yourself. Don't get sick again. We need you. All right. Keep warm out there.